So I want to welcome Scott Goldberg from Fresh Brothers Pizza in Los Angeles. Hi, Scott.
Hey, how you doing?
Doing great. Thank you so much. I know you're busy running, what is it, 19 pizzerias at this point?
19 stores and
19 stores.
opening up. They're all opening right about now. So I
Perfect
guess it's,
timing.
I guess it's good I could sit down right now when there's 19 stores opening right now.
That is good. That is good.
I'm a little fidgety, but I'm sitting.
Good, good. So anyway, this has been an amazing, amazing 3 days. This is the last day, and I know you're busy, and I know you have like just a little bit of time. So you've got 11 to 12 for us who just came out of a meeting, and who knows where you're going next. But I really, I enjoyed working with you, and I loved your stories. We got to know each other, pretty well in just a week. And while we were working, we were always kind of kibitzing and going back and forth and laughing and having a good time. And you told me some pretty amazing stories, and we started talking after that about that I was going to the Pizza Expo, and would you consider like contributing? And so I'm not exactly sure what you're going to say, and honestly, as long as you're talking, I'm happy. But what I say to everybody, who I bring on is that, I want people to understand that like most people didn't come to pizza necessarily directly. Most people haven't been doing it their whole lives. Maybe they had a different career first, but I'm pretty sure you've been doing this almost your entire life, right?
Pretty close. I started, I had a job at Geno's East when I was 16 for a year or so. Finished high school and I got.
Wait. Let's start at the beginning. Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Northbrook, Illinois.
Northbrook, Illinois.
Yeah. And then
Sorry.
everything from there, then I ended up in Northwest Indiana. My dad used to drive from Evanston around the lake to the Indiana side at a trucking company he worked at, and he built a little house in Miller Beach. Miller Beach is the north part of Gary. So I hung out there on the beach for a year, and I walked into this pizza place looking for a part-time job, and the guy told me he was getting ready to shut it down, but if I wanted a job for a little while, that'd be great. And in the 2 or 3 weeks I was there before he was going to close it down, I decided not to go to college and buy the place from him.
How old were you?
I was just about to turn 19.
Amazing. And what was the sale price? I mean, was he planning on selling it or just closing it down?
He was planning on closing it down. So it was, he wanted to sell it for $7,000.
Wow.
Not counting the building with a little rent. I think the rent was like $400 a month. It was a little corner building. You could look it up on, probably the easiest way is on Yelp or Miller Pizza Company in Gary, Indiana. And Miller Beach is kind of a little snuggled up part of Lake Michigan, just on the north end of Gary, the lakefront area. And I felt like right away when I got in there and we were looking for a new name, the place was called Nino's Pizza. So I rounded up a group because I didn't even have $1,000, let alone $7,000. And I got my dad, who had a little bit of money and just moved to Miller Beach. We had a real estate guy that helped us do the deal. We had a marketing guy that sells cocoa and sugar for a living, and he helped us do a little marketing. And I had a guy named Dwayne Fox, who kind of was my original mentor. He had a couple pizza places on the south side of Chicago. My dad did some work with him in another business, and he gave me some recipes. And honestly, in June of 1985, when I opened my store, I put a pizza recipe out that didn't change a whole lot and has still not changed a whole lot. I listened to these guys talk the last couple of days here, as much as I can, and I hear about always changing, always looking for new, always looking for just a little edge. And I'm sort of jealous about it because I haven't changed it. I've been using the same cheese, the same sauce, the same boxes for the last 12 years. And again, the only thing I have changed is my dough, and that's how I met you. For the first 31 years of making pizza, I had the exact same dough recipe with the exact same flour, exact same amount of oil, same amount of water, and it worked, so I didn't change it. And I always knew the one piece that could be better was the dough, because the other products I was getting were coming to me ready to go. I mean, I had I got a pizza box right here. Here's our pizza box right here. Actually, I put a little cheese pizza in there for you. Little square cut cheese pizza. And I knew the dough was where we had the most opportunity. And I would have never done it. I really wouldn't have. But the people I was working with, we were going through some changes, and through a consultant, they said, you got to meet this guy, Noel. I don't even know, Noel Brohner. And I said, great, bring him in. And at first I was like, I said, bring him in. I was like, shoot, I really don't want someone showing me how to make pizza dough. Within about 15 minutes of meeting this guy, I felt like the beauty of him was he says, we're not going to change any of your ingredients. We're just going to change the amounts and how you do it. I was like, okay, I'm good. I'm in on that. And we started with adding a little water, taking out a little yeast, adding a little more sugar. And at the end of the first day, I was like, honestly, I was blown away by the batch of dough we made at the end of the day versus the last 500,000 batches of dough I made the previous 31 years. So I know you guys, everyone probably loves to hear, people raving about Noel so much that he can hardly take it. But at the end of the 5 days, I had a product that I felt was by far the best dough I've ever had, because it was the only dough I've ever had besides what I had made. And what I saw was a better dough ball going out to all of our 19 stores. So we have a commissary where we make all the dough for all stores, which does help us with consistency. And setting the dough out and watching those dough balls not move for 48 hours, not rise up, hold on to where they were at. And next thing you know, we're rolling out pizzas, and I'm tasting that bite, the bite that we never had in our dough, where it just felt like I had a better pizza in my hand. So that was really the main change we made in my last 33 years of making pizza. So I guess going backwards, I started this little company, Miller Pizza Company, with these guys' help. And pretty quick after that, I knew like this was my calling. This is what I'm going to do for my life. And my first day in business, it was June 19th, 1985. I did $153 in business. And I don't think I had a $500 day for the first 3 to 4 months. And it was me and one other guy. I worked 6 days a week, open to close. We closed on Mondays so I can get some rest. And eventually it just started to slowly happen. And I felt like connecting to the community, connecting to Gary, Indiana, that nobody was doing in 1985. Matter of fact, no one's really doing it now either. But in 1985, nobody was really connecting with Gary, Indiana. And I felt like this is the piece that I need to do. I need to connect with this community and become the pizza man for Gary, Indiana, not just Miller Beach. Although it was the right place to have the store, but to connect with the whole city was a huge part of what I did. And I was only 18, 19, 20 years old for those first couple of years. So I was connecting with high school kids. I had kids coming up. I started doing pizza slices for $1. You got a can of Coke and a pizza slice for $1. And the schools all had open lunch at that time. So these kids would all walk out from the junior high, from the high school. They'd walk to Miller Pizza and get a slice of pizza and a Coke for $1. And if they didn't have $1, it didn't matter. I gave them a slice of pizza. If a family came by that night and says, "Oh man, I'm $6 short," didn't matter. I just gave them a pizza. And I really did that for the first 10 years, and just sort of embraced the community and made sure that we didn't look at a map and go, we can't deliver here because it's a bad neighborhood, or we can't go down this street. I found the right people to work for me in the late 80s. And we had 9 employees in 1990, and 8 of those 9 employees still work there today. So I got a delivery guy named Cowboy. I didn't even know his name was Thomas till 5 years after he worked for me. It just was the way we did it, and it felt good and it worked. I need a sip of water. So
I can say you deserve it. This is awesome.
So I realized that at some point we had to find some more opportunity. And my dad lived in Miller Beach, although he ran a trucking company. And, you know, we always talked about what can we do? What can we do more? It was a little carryout place. Next door to us, there was a boarded up train station, an old passenger station from a train that came through Indiana, Northwest Indiana in like the 50s and 60s for the last time. And they were going to tear it down. And there was a big fight over whether it was a historical spot or it wasn't historical. And my dad helped me do this. And we went to the city and to the state and said, hey, we'll buy the building for $1 and we'll renovate it into a dining room for our pizza carryout place. And they were like, sure, done deal. The only problem was the train station was about 60 feet over from the building. So my dad found a guy who moved buildings and he dug a little foundation and eventually rolled the building into the carryout spot, knocked a hole in the wall, and we had a 50-seat dining room attached to the little carryout place. Keep in mind, on this street, on Lake Street in Miller Beach, this was a thriving downtown community, like in the 50s, 60s, and early 70s. There were maybe 4 out of 25, 4 out of 30 stores operating at that time. So we were unique there. And people were coming to see us now. And I always felt like I could add the next level, but I had a hard time ever leaving that spot, right? So that's kind of why I never looked for a second store, really. Just wanted to find ways to do more business there. So we did pretty well, right? We're doing $1,000 a day, $2,000 a day, but it was still a struggle. You know, we can never, it was never booming. You know, it was 25% unemployment from these steel mills as they shut down during the 80s, but it just kind of slowly grew. And listen, it was enough for me to make a living and start a family, and it was pretty cool, you know. And around 1995, there was talk of casinos coming to Gary, Indiana, on Lake Michigan, and you know, it was a huge battle between the city and between the state and between the gaming commissions. It was Gary, Indiana. Nothing was smooth, you know. And I don't know if anyone's driven through Gary, Indiana, but you know, it's a rough urban area that's, at this point, it's actually starting to come back a little bit. It's got a little bit of rise going there. So they decided to put these 2 casino boats right in Gary, Indiana, and it was a casino called Majestic Star that was owned by a guy named Don Barden out of Detroit. And then Donald Trump was the Trump Casino, had just kind of, was probably still in its fairly decent heyday in the Atlantic City market. And the second casino was going to be Trump Casino. And they shared a dock in an old cement area where like barges would come into Lake Michigan. And there was nothing there for years, but they had the break wall created. So it was an easy spot to drop the 2 boats in there. And they put this pavilion between it. And the big thing was that Trump and Barden, especially Trump, promised, I know it's hard to believe, promised that local business would be a huge part of these casino operations. And as it got closer to happening, you know, you heard rumors of the valet companies from New Jersey, the electric companies out of, you know, New Jersey, something's from Detroit. Nothing was coming from Gary, Indiana. And I thought, well, maybe I'm the right guy for that spot because I'm in Gary, I'm a known brand, and the people of Gary will at least recognize it, right? So I sent a letter off, and my dad helped me get that stuff done, and never got a response. The casinos were not even there yet. This is just during like the preliminary building stuff. So about, I don't know, maybe 4 months into the process of these casinos starting to like build their little land-based area for the boats to go in. The second kind of thriving business on Lake Street in Miller, down the street from me, was a place called Miller Bakery Cafe, kind of a gourmet restaurant. People came from around the area to go eat there. And on a Monday afternoon, I don't know, maybe mid-1995, I see 2 limousines go down Lake Street, stop in front of the restaurant. They're closed on Mondays. I'm just standing looking out the window. It's 1 o'clock. I got shit going on, right? Middle of the day at a little pizza place. The limos make a U-turn. They pull up in front of my store at the stoplight. And I'm like, I just wonder who that could be, right? You just don't see limos coming down the street. So I walk out there, knock on the window. I'm like, hey, I know I don't have fancy food like the Miller Bakery, but I got a decent pizza if you guys want to come in. Kind of peeked in a little bit, didn't see anybody. They pull in back on my building, they walk in. It's Donald Trump, Don Barden, 4 or 5 other casino guys from Atlantic City. And they walked in and like I was shitting my pants, right? Like I'm like, I don't know what to do at this point. Because I'm thinking in my head, I want to be in this casino selling pizza. So I knew they were from Jersey and the East Coast. We've cut our pizzas in squares since 85 and before. I never had a triangle cut thin crust pizza in my life. And I make these guys a couple extra large pizzas. And I'm like, I'm going to cut these pizzas in triangles, right? And I bring it out to them and they sat and ate lunch. And I said, hey guys, I've sent you guys a letter. They like the pizza. I said, I'd love to get a little stand at the casino. And said, yep, just send us a letter. We'll get you in there, no problem, right? So I send a letter, and of course I hear nothing again. So my dad and I actually made about 20 pizzas right as they were getting ready to open the casino. And we went in and we kind of started knocking on doors. We met the vice president of casino operations and another guy that was handling food and beverage. And the guy goes, I heard about you from, the Trump people when they had lunch at your place. And then we never followed through with it. And they said, we'll have a lease for you on Monday for a 3-year deal selling pizza at the casino. So we get the lease. They gave us 150 square feet for $10,000 a month. And I go to my dad, I'm like, we can't do this. And he goes, look if they're charging you $10,000 a month for 150 square feet, there's a good chance that you can make money doing this. So we had a little extra space on the back of the restaurant. We obviously couldn't make the pizzas there. Put a little stand in there, kind of follow an old Father and Son. You know Father and Son Pizza? They're a Chicago brand. They had little kiosks around like Navy Pier and places around Chicago. And they built us this little stand. I got these little tabletop Lincoln and Pinger ovens with no exhaust. And a month later, we were selling 200 pizzas a day, 1,600 slices a day at the 2 casinos. So it was a pretty cool time.
Now, exactly where did you end up within the 2 casinos? Did you have a store, like a traditional store?
We had 150 square feet of little kiosk, just a stand. But it was cool because when the casinos first started, they weren't just get on, get off. They had these like entry times and off times. So they created these long lines to get on the boats. And we were like, you're walking to the 2 boats, and just like my face is in the middle right now, you are walking right towards us. So we went from this little pizza place that did 60, 70 customers a day and had the same people because people just didn't wander in there, to now we open ourselves up to like thousands of people a day from the whole greater Chicagoland area. And we were open from 10 a.m. till 5 a.m. And I had no idea how to work this, how to put this together. I hired a guy that was an iron worker that I met him from coming in for pizzas, and he like, hey, I want to get out of the iron worker business. I'm a hard worker. I work 80 hours a week. I'm like, dude, you're hired to run my freaking pizza stand at the casinos. And his name's Art Carey, by the way. He gave me 11 years of his life in that place. And he's still selling pizzas, not there. And I really had a hard time figuring it out. And I just knew, and going back to Rob's These Hands thing, it touched me when he said that. It really came down to like going, I got to commit to this 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, because I don't know how to do this. But if I just give it 100% of my time, we can make it happen. I had a guy that drove me home at night and back there in the morning that worked for me just so I could get like 30 minutes of sleep each way. And I can remember going into my closet at my house because my kids were little then. And I locked myself in the closet to try to sleep for 3 hours. So anyways, that's the story of the casinos. The casino went really well for 8, 9, 10 years. As the casinos got saturated in the Midwest, the casino guys were like, listen, we need to make money on food. We're not doing, the gambling's just not what we need to have just anybody's source to do all the other stuff. And, they pinched me, and eventually they put Jackpot Pizza in there, at about year 10 or 11. But during that last couple years, my brother Adam, who's in Manhattan Beach, I'd send him pizzas, frozen pizzas. And out of the clear blue, as the family kind of knew the casino thing was going away, he called me one day and said, "Hey, what do you think about opening a pizza place in Manhattan Beach, California?" I'm like, "Look, I got this guy. There's no way I could be out there." He goes, "I'm going to run it. I'm going to build a pizza concept in Southern California with your products." And at that time, he was doing like some reality TV production, just some minor camera work. And I mean, he worked 38 weeks a year, And I'm like, "Dude, you don't want to do this. I mean, you just don't want to do this." I'm right around 30, in my 30s, started my 30s then. He's like I'm in my late 30s, he's in his early 30s. And I'm like, "You don't want to do it." He goes, "No, I'm dedicated to it." Going back to These Hands, the same way. He goes, "I will get out of my business to do pizzas only." And that was the commitment I needed. Everybody that's listening to this has heard about the guy that wanted to open a restaurant while he was a surgeon, or while he was, whatever job he was doing on the side. And you can't go in a restaurant business without dedicating yourself to it. And he did, along with his wife, and they opened the first store up in Manhattan Beach, Fresh Brothers. And my goal was to come out here for 3 or 4 weeks to get him started. And he'd have a crew hired, and I'd go back home and continue on my path with less casino pizzas, but just developing my business, which had grown because of the exposure we got at the casino. And 3 weeks in, he goes, "Dude, you cannot leave right now. I mean, you're working 15 hours a day here, and we don't have a staff. We don't have enough people." And so I ended up staying for 3 months, which was a really, really tough time with family and everything else going on back home. And at the same time, my other brother, Michael, also got into business. So now you had Fresh Brothers, right? We all three were doing pizzas together.
I hate to interrupt you, but I got a couple of questions.
Oh, yeah, good. I'm sorry. I'm just rambling.
No, you're not rambling at all. This is beautiful stuff.
Okay.
So, I was looking at one of the questions online, and it's from a guy with the same last name, and then you said Michael, and I'm like, wait a minute. I wonder if your brother is trolling you right now. So, is your brother Michael Goldberg?
Yes.
And if I told you the question, would you be able to know if it was the same Michael Goldberg that's your brother?
I would most likely know that, yes.
How do you stay so skinny in the pizza business?
That doesn't sound like him. But I would have thought of it a lot harsher than that. But I didn't really. I grew a bunch in my pizza years, but when I got to LA full time, I figured, I can't fix the face. So I try to work on the body a little bit, so I do eat pizza 7 days a week. I really do. I just don't eat as much as I ate 7 days a week.
Got it. Good answer.
And
then one more from Ryan Evans, and I'll let you go on rambling, as you say, although I think we're all loving it here. Somebody wants to know, Ryan James wants to know, is there a Miller Pizza in Michigan City, Indiana?
There is. So Michigan, so Art Carey, the guy I explained to that, dedicated his 10 years of his life to working at the casino for me. And when that thing ended, he went from iron worker to pizza guy working 12, 14 hours a day to like, what do I do now, right? And we had some equipment there, and he had a little piece of land up near Long Beach, or Grand Beach, near the Indiana-Michigan border. And he's like, "Hey, what do you think about me opening up a pizza place? Can you help me out?" I was like, "Dude, you just gave me 10 years of your life, And I said, just give me a small commission. I don't care, 3%, 4%. I think we're at about 14 years right now, but I haven't gotten my first check yet. But I'm not trying to get anything out of him. But so he does have the original recipes, and he has been making pizzas there since probably around 2007, I'm guessing. So about 13 years.
Maybe you could tell him as an enticement for all the back 3% or 4 patios. You can update the recipe for him.
Right? Yeah. Yes, I could give him the dough recipe. You're right. So, questions?
You know what? Let's stop at those two because I want to actually get on to the second part of your career, which is moving to California and how you went from one location with your brother, how you came up with the name, and then how you got from there to where you are today, and then we'll take some more questions. How about that?
So yeah, for sure. So a lot of it really was, my goal was come to California, work till the store's built up, go back home. And we did that. I did that 4 or 5 times. And at that point, Michael and Adam, and they were working side by side, knocking these things out. And, it was like, hey, are you going to stay this time? Are you going to stay this time? And I used to tell Adam, like, hey, when we have a store in Hollywood, because I kind of always wanted to be in Hollywood. I don't know why. I just always had a thing for Hollywood and the Hollywood sign. And he said, if we get a spot in Hollywood, I'll commit to moving there full time. And maybe 3 months later, he sent me a photo of like a for lease space at Franklin and Bronson with the Hollywood sign up in the background. And I committed to coming out, and I did it, and so I started. That was about store number 7, and we worked together on all the stores up to number 12. And and Adam drove the market. Adam and his wife drove the marketing piece, and kind of grew it, right. And Michael kind of handled operations. And as we got bigger, it just got a little bit more difficult and a little trickier for us. And just opening stores got more difficult, and putting systems in place are still difficult. But and we at that point we started. My brother Adam worked on getting a group of people to help us grow the company. And Michael left the business, which I'll give him a plug right now. He's actually the CEO of Ike's Sandwiches. He's got 50 some locations. Most of them are in California. Pretty good sandwich though. And he went on to that, and Adam and I stayed together doing this with the group, and we put like he put an infrastructure in place, and we grew it further. And then, and that's where we are today. We're at 19 stores, 12 in Los Angeles, actually 13 in Los Angeles County, 5 in Orange County, and 1 in San Diego. And Adam's still a partner in the business. He does not work the day-to-day operation. I'll give him a plug too. He's actually the CEO of Rock and Brews. So these guys, neither one of them ever worked in a restaurant when we started Fresh Brothers. And it's interesting that their career paths kept them in restaurants. So they truly have a love for it and are both really, really, really good at what they do.
And it's not just a love. I mean, they're not just in restaurants. They're both CEOs, right?
Yes.
And they're both running companies with quite a lot of locations, 50. And then Rock and Brews has got to be one of the busiest restaurants in the South Bay, right?
Yeah, I think Rock and Brews has like 10 or 12 locations total. So yeah. So anyway, that's where we're at today. And as we've grown it, it's just been awesome. I mean, it really has. It's the best time of my life. I still love coming to work every day. We have a great team right now that we're working with. We actually have a new CEO. My brothers are both CEOs. I'm still like, just trying to operate and make sure everybody stays happy. But we brought a guy named Jeff Goodman in. Actually, our group brought him in, and Jeff's got an incredible pizza history and has been just fantastic for the business. He started in January.
Yeah.
And honestly, when the whole, COVID-19 started, we have had some challenging days. We are operating our stores, and he has built the confidence in our team that we can get through this thing right now and stay strong through it and come out of it on the other side stronger than ever. I know I've mentioned to you before, Noel, that we're not a discount pizza place. We've really tried to be, that next level of restaurant and of pizzeria, actually, not the gourmet or not but just kind of fast casual without doing high discounts. But we have found the last few weeks that our goal is to feed as many people as we can. And we've realized that with our marketing team and with Jeff and everyone's help, we've realized that every day we need to do a special. Yesterday we did buy a heart-shaped pizza, get a free heart-shaped pizza. Huge deep discount 2 for 1 for us is like something we just never did, but it's working for us. And we know that Los Angeles is a service-based, restaurant, bars, acting. The community is devastated by what's going on right now as far as employment, and we just want to be there for people. We're doing what we can, not only with our discounts, but with feeding hospitals, feeding grocery stores, helping with, I told you yesterday, with Nancy Silverton's program and Moza with giving gift cards to the people that are lining up for meals every day. And it's kind of where we're at, and it does humble me to be in this time of this incredibly horrible thing going on in this country and the world. And we have worked to keep our stores safe. I mean, listen, everyone operates a clean restaurant that's on this panel and listening, but we've taken it to the next level of making sure we are safe every day, making sure our drivers are safe every day. We seal all our food. We have contactless delivery. We've done a curbside concierge for any pickup if someone doesn't want to come in our restaurants. So we've really tried to be available for everyone and have our consumer and our employees comfortable to walk into our restaurant each day.
I love that. I love that.
And
It's funny. Yeah, go ahead.
I want to do a little marketing for myself here.
Please.
About 7 years ago, 8 years ago, maybe even 9 years ago, we started doing a matzah pizza for Passover.
Wait, matzah? Is that like mozza?
No, it's like
matzah.
Like for Passover matzah.
You mean like Jewish? Wow.
Like Jewish matzah, yeah. So we do a personal double matzah pizza that
so
like cut into 4 little. I can't get my camera straight.
Yeah.
We do 2 matzahs, little cheese in between, and any way you want it. We do it for the 8 days of Passover.
I love it.
I think the first year we did matzah pizza, it was kind of a gimmick for us. We just thought, let's throw them on there, see what happens. And I think last year we probably did like, over 3,000 to 4,000 matzah pizzas in the 8 days.
That's incredible.
Some communities more than others. So, but all communities, all stores have it. And it's just that kind of stuff that we kind of found ways to kind of reinvent ourselves a few times over the years, find ways to feed whatever percentage of Jews in this town on the 8 days when they're not going to eat pizza.
Yeah, really.
So
I love that.
Yeah. There's Alfonso right there.
Hi, Alfonso. Can you get him over here for a second?
Alfonso.
Would you mind introducing him and for the people who weren't around yesterday? Hi, Alfonso. Can you hear me?
Oh, yeah.
So,
what's going on?
¿Cómo estás?
Hey, don't give me this ¿cómo estás? Venga, por favor. Queremos hablarte, si podemos.
Okay.
Scott?
Yeah, so Alfonso started working for us. We had 1 store at Manhattan Beach, and he made all the dough for that store. And at first we were thinking, put a mixer in each store. So we did for the first couple. And we realized pretty quick to get consistency with my dough that hasn't changed in 30 years. We needed to have it out of 1 spot. So Alfonso was at our Manhattan Beach store, and he made the dough for the first 2 stores, then 3, then 4, then 5, and now for all 19. I think he's been with us probably a month or 2 into opening the first store. So it's.
Can you see his hands, please? I don't understand how he can do all these things so quickly.
You want to see his hands?
¿Puedes ver tus manos? No son grandes. No.
So
Okay.
I got.
Bien, gracias.
Wanna come in something?
What?
Yeah, she says she wanna ask something.
Oh, you want?
What do
Okay.
you want? What you say?
Ask him what his favorite pizza is. ¿Qué es tu pizza favorita?
What's your favorite pizza?
Oh, my favorite is hawaiana and jalapeños and pepperoni, jamón, and chicken.
Wow,
All
that's a
together.
real meat lovers.
With triple hot sauce mixed in with the pizza
No,
sauce.
pero not together. Separate the
Separate.
ham, the hawaiana, and separate the chicken, ham and pepperoni. Yeah, 2 separate. See,
So he likes the Hawaiian with the jalapenos, and he likes the meat lovers, both with a lot of hot sauce.
There you go.
All right.
Okay.
He's the man. He's
He's a
unbelievable.
legend here.
He's a legend, right?
Yeah, in my eyes, he is for sure.
You know, it was funny when I came in there. We tried an experiment where we tried to see if we could speed him up by bringing him in 3, 4, 5 guys, right? And for about a day or two, we had 5 people doing his job instead of 1. Most workers would be happy to have 4 other people helping them, but he actually decided he would be more efficient and in the end more faster by himself. Is that not true?
That is definitely true. And we definitely, so at this point, we did upgrade our mixer, and we have a divider and a dough baller now. So he does have a helper, but he always tells me, just have the helper come in about 10 and leave at 2. I got the rest, you know. So like today's Thursday for Friday. So he's making about 3,600 pounds of dough today for tomorrow.
3,600 pounds.
Yeah. I mean, it's for tomorrow going into Saturday morning. Yeah.
3,600 pounds. So that's six batches at about 600 pounds each.
Yeah, 6 batches.
That's amazing.
So,
That's a lot of dough balls.
And you know, like, and when we did look for, and Adam did a lot of the real estate, you know, when early on, and we realized that, you know, going into Calabasas, or going into Beverly Hills, going into Brentwood, that to try to get an extra 100, 150 square feet for a dough room, and you know, it was just an expensive piece. And then besides that, I couldn't even imagine having one guy make my dough versus 19, 20, or 30. I couldn't even imagine not having the dough coming out of one spot at this point.
Yeah.
So.
I think when you were talking earlier, you said when you heard about me, you were like, "Oh God, what's this guy gonna? I don't know if I want to change my dough." And honestly, when I heard about the job from you, I didn't want to take it either because I used to see those gimmicky little billboards you guys have all over with the matzo pizza or whatever, and I always thought they were kind of cute, but I was like, "Oh man, gimmicky chain pizza. I don't think that would be made for me." But it was funny. We talked on the phone. Probably on Zoom or something, right? It was probably a year ago.
It was before, even though it was a year ago, it was like pre-Zoom, I think.
It was. No, there's no such thing as pre-Zoom. Zoom is very 2019, and I'm pretty sure we talked in 2019 on a conference call.
We did.
And we kind of hit it off over the phone. Although, when you told me you'd never changed your recipe in 30 years, I was like, oh, God, one of those old school guys, 58% hydration, high gluten flour, lots of oil, probably not olive oil, probably like old fryer oil. But actually, you know, we really hit it off, I think, and I enjoyed spending the time with you, and you were really open to trying new things. And I think at a certain point after we changed 11 tiny little things, you were like, more, what else you got? This is amazing. And I thought, slow down, let's get this dialed in. And, you know, it was amazing. I didn't think you were going to be the guy that you are. I think I thought you were going to be a lot more like your brothers, who I've never met. But, you know, it was...
I'm just going to go with the very politically correct answer. My brothers are awesome.
I'm sure they are.
Both of them are.
Where's the new CEO? Can we bring him down?
He's upstairs. But he might be watching. If he walks down, we'll see in a minute. But he's fantastic. Like, he really is.
I sure would like to meet him. And if not virtually, then at least in person.
For sure. Yeah, the day he walked in, I was not, I don't want to say I was worried, but I certainly was wondering, right? And 3 months later, I mean, if you would have said to me, you could pick any CEO in America to run a pizza place for you right now, I think I'd pick that guy. I really,
amazing.
And I mean that. Not because he's listening. I really mean that. So.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right, we've got some pictures. We got some questions coming in. You know, my eyes are terrible, so I can't read all the names and everything. But I'm just going to hit you with the questions. All right. Somebody wants to know: is it hard to sell Chicago-style pizza in Los Angeles?
Yeah, that's why we do sell it. We kind of bring it in, take it out. We've done it a few times over a couple years. The harder time that I have with it is baking it more than anything, because we're using XLT Impingement ovens, or Impingement ovens, yeah. And it's just hard to cook it fast, right? I mean, it's impossible to cook it fast. So I have figured out a way to do it. I mean, we power bake the dough a little bit with a little cheese, and then we put the sauce on top and do it. it's funny about the Chicago style pizza to people from LA though, is their memory of Chicago style pizza is when they were at a convention or they were in Chicago, they went to Uno's or Due's or Lou Malnati's or Giordano's, I'm missing it, whatever, there's 20 of them. And they might not have had it since 1998 or 2003 or whenever they had it last. And I kind of always think like, I wonder if they even remember what it tasted like. But they tell me that's not Chicago style pizza, So, but the other funny thing is, our pizza is our thin crust pizza cut in squares is 85% of our sales of pizza, probably 80 to 85%.
Yeah.
And on the other hand, people go, "What's with this thin crust pizza?" You're supposed to be from Chicago. You should be making deep dish pizza.
Well, I'm getting a bunch of questions in here, and I had somebody answering questions, so I'm wearing two hats now. But I'm noticing that people are arguing about whether Chicago style pizza is thick crust or thin crust.
Definitely thin crust.
Definitely thin crust, right? Because I've got a guy here who claims to be from Illinois, and he says that all the people from his town eat thin crust, and it's only the tourists.
Every neighborhood pizzeria in Chicago, everyone I ever ate at made thin crust pizza with square cut, tavern style square cut. That was, and it's not a real heavy cornmeal crust. It's a cornmeal dusting more or less. It's not a real hard crust, a softer crust. But I definitely know when I could watch people, even though we don't have a lot of dine-in customers, I could watch people eating and I could tell they're from Chicago sometimes.
No
First
way.
of all, they get sausage on their pizza for sure, and we use a good, we use Fontanini products still, and a good fennel sausage. But what gives it away is when the customer orders giardiniera peppers on their pizza, and they actually pronounce it giardiniera peppers.
Really?
Versus Gianardi or whatever other version they come up with to try it. So I could usually spot them. They also get a little lean going when they eat, so I could usually pick out Chicago guys.
Awesome. Hey, I don't want to cut away for too long, but I think Pizza Lee is standing by, and we're going to try to see if we can get him back on. He has a pizza he wants to show us. So don't go anywhere. We want you, Scott, and we've got a few more questions coming in. We're having some technological issues. Wiki, if you could jump in and see if you can get Pizza Lee's feed going, that would be awesome. He says he's muted. I think I see it. There he is.
See if we can turn around the view.
Yep. Lee Hunziger, are you still in Texas?
Sure am.
What's happening over there?
Not too much. I got some action going here. Coming out of the proofer, I have so these are some squares that I stretched out this morning, much like I showed a little earlier.
Wait, why are they shiny? Are they wrapped with plastic?
They are. I'm about to.
Why do you do that?
I'm sorry?
Why do you do that?
So on proofer, although it works, a lot of times we're stretching them out earlier in the day and then putting them away, and then they're an overnight proof. I did it today with our proofer just because sometimes when I wasn't sure with the timing of this too, and if they're proofing up and they're kind of staggered on each other, then the corners will rise higher than the actual part that's connected to the next pod. So plastic wrap keeps it nice and level. So if you have a pizza maker that isn't as skilled and say it's not as even, half of the pie is a little uneven, it'll hold the part that would have kept going. It'll actually, the other side will kind of catch up to it. And that's a big part of a Sicilian. You don't want that avalanche because as gravity will take over, your sauce is going to fall to the lowest part of that pie. So we like them nice and level, if we could. Yeah. So I got some here, and I'm just going to go, like I was saying, brush them with sauce. If I was doing this, and then I wanted to get sauce on there for my par bake, being that the dough is so soft and tender, it's gonna kind of stunt it. It'll collapse. It's cold sauce kind of hitting the dough. This way, it goes right to the oven from the plastic wrap. So we do our par bakes at the same temp that we bake our pie as. I just changed the settings on my Pizza Master here, so there's a little more bottom heat and less top heat.
Got it. Got it. Hey, Lee, we have some questions coming in. Somebody wants to know, what is the temp of your proof?
I'm sorry. Temp, we try to run no higher than 110. So basically, that's where it was at right before this. Now that I have it open, it's down to 97, 96, but about 110 degrees.
Very good. And then somebody's asking, what is a pizza master? Are you the pizza master, Lee?
View of the ovens too. So Pizza Master is a type of an oven. It's a deck oven. It's an electric deck oven. It's able to go, as you can see, it goes up to 932 pies, so you can technically cook a Neapolitan pizza in these. But for us, I love them because it gives us control. And it's very responsive. When I turn these on in the morning, the turbo mode that it goes into, and it comes to temp in about a half an hour. You know, if I had to cook a pie in about a half an hour, it's a little better if we turn them on about an hour before and we know that they're locked and loaded. I can't say enough about it. It make my life a lot easier.
Yeah.
Too. A little skeptical having grown up with Baker's Pride and Marcel ovens, Logic. I was a little skeptical of the electric ovens, but
Yeah.
huge fan of them. So we do a high temp bake. It's about 650 for about 5 minutes. We got a little more oven spring in there. You can see them. See the way they look now, and in about a minute they're gonna puff up a lot higher. Get a little more spring. So I look for a little light color kind of on the bottom, and then when we do our finished bake, we bake it about 540. So it's about a 12 minute on our final bake on that too. Super crispy.
Very nice.
These pies here real quick. So we're open right now too. So I have my other pizza maker, Jared, is actually holding the iPad right now. So
Nice.
all those are baking where we're just gonna make a cheese pie and whatever else kind of comes in here.
That sounds great. Hey, do me a favor. Keep your feed going.
This is the focaccia that we made earlier too.
Beautiful.
See the crumb on that, nice and open. And
Real nice. Is that the same dough, Lee?
same dough for everything, yeah.
When you say everything, how many different products are you creating with one dough?
6. So we make house bread here, like hero bread. We do focaccia. We make garlic knots, round pies, square pies, grandma pies.
Incredible. I'm a big fan of one dough pizzerias, so keep it up. We're going to cut back to Scott Goldberg, but keep your video on and turn off your audio if you don't mind. We want to keep watching you while you make pizza, all right, Lee? Awesome, thank you. Scott, you still there?
Yeah, I want to go make pizzas with him.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no
really,
doubt.
right?
That was
Justin,
awesome.
you're there too?
Yeah. We got a good question from Pete asking, is there a Milwaukee style pizza in you guys' eyes? Or, does that just fall under the Chicago style thin crust? Milwaukee style pizza. Anybody? Let's open it up.
I see Peter Reinhardt. Who else is there? If any of our panelists want to chime back in, it is 11:55. It's party time. Darren Ezzo in the house. Darren. Ezzo Pepperoni.
How you
Right.
doing?
Oh, what?
Well,
Darren,
if,
hey,
if
bud.
Darren's here, I'm going to change my background. I
Yeah,
got
that's
the
what
Ezzo
I'm on
Pepperoni
it too.
Change my
I'm still
background.
trying to
Oh,
figure
Mike's
out
hot,
what
honey. Oh, I got Ezzo right there. Boom.
Yeah, let's
Boom.
take a moment to thank Darren and Ezzo Sausage Company for making PizzaZoom.
Oh my God! Not for making. Oh, they've
Hey,
revolutionized
let's
the pepperoni game.
let's put this to rest right now. It's Ezo.
Oh God! Shouldn't there be 3 E's if it's Ezo?
Yeah. EIEIZZO.
There you go. Good to know. To all the participants out there, it's not Ezzo, it's Ezzo.
Well, hold on. Is it Darren or is it Darren?
Or is it Darren?
Duran.
Good. Duran. Duran Ezo. Oh, who knew?
Yeah.
Scott, what about, is it Scott Goldberg?
Actually, it's BERG, but I'm not worried about it. It's okay.
Seriously, Darren, thank you guys so much for your generous support.